If you'd like to be able to listen to the show without ads and have full access to bonus content, that's an option. To find out how, please go to dogmanencounters.com/podcast. Hey everyone, I apologize for the late start. We had a little technical issue we had to work through. But better late than never, right? We're just glad to be here. Having said that, tonight's guest has had more than one Dogman encounter, but unlike most eyewitnesses, he's handling his encounters really well, and that's always a really good thing, of course. But it's a surprise when I find out that an eyewitness has handled their encounters, especially more than one encounter, so well. Well, let's bring him in here now so we can find out why he's dealing with those experiences so well. Tonight's guest is Farris Reese. Farris, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Well, it's great having you here. Farris, please give us a brief bio on yourself.
I'm 66 years old. I'm retired from Georgia Power Company. I was an electrician for about 12 years there. That's pretty much it on that.
So you worked on the high tension lines then?
Well, I worked in a powerhouse on all the different equipment inside that produces electricity.
Wow, you worked on them hot then.
Yeah.
Wow, you got to be really particular about what you do when you're working live on electricity like that. If you don't, it'll definitely straighten your string. You didn't find out what it was that you saw until about 4 or 5 years ago. How'd you find out what they were?
Well, I've been watching a lot of these different shows on Bigfoot, Dogman, and one night I was looking and I seen one that looked exactly like the one that I had seen. And I told my wife, I said, "That's it. That's what I seen." Before then, I was just guessing. I didn't really know.
Yeah, I can only imagine the thoughts that must have been going through your head when you finally could put a name to what it was that you saw those times. Yeah, I bet you're ready to fall out of your chair.
Yeah, I was. I was up running across the house. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I'll bet you were. Understandably so, too. Considering how you've had more than one encounter with these guys, do you think there's something about you that draws them to you, or do you think it's just dumb luck?
Well, I'm not really sure. I wasn't expecting nothing that first time. I mean, I was just driving along, but when I seen it, and a few years later, then I see the other one, and I can't really say whether something about it must be attracting them to me. I don't really know.
Well, you've had 2 encounters. If you have a third, then that almost removes all doubt that there has to be something about you. But
Yeah.
of course, hopefully that third one's never going to happen. How much of an effect have your dogman encounters had in your life? I know you've dealt with them very well, but can you point to anything in your life and say, okay, well, this is that way because of the dogman encounters I had?
Well, I haven't been out camping like I used to, but of course that's a lot of that's been because of either my job or that I had before I retired, and since then I've just had a lot of things going on. So I do think about that though. That I might encounter one out there, and I don't know. I don't know whether it would be any different. I mean, I did have sheet metal around me that one time, and I had a shotgun in my hand the other time, but so I don't really know. I mean, I'm not really what you say scared, but aware.
Well, as long as you're aware, that's a good thing. That's
Yeah.
always a really good thing. And in most cases, you're going to find that eyewitnesses who weren't traumatized by their experiences, they can point to this or that and say, okay, because of this one factor, because of this one element, that's why I'm not traumatized by my dogman encounter or encounters, as it sometimes happens, like in your case. From what you just said, do you think if you didn't have that sheet metal around you, that Toyota Tacoma is what you're talking about, when you had the first encounter, if you didn't have the shotgun with you when you had the second, do you think you would have been traumatized by those experiences?
Well, that's very possible. Um, I know well, just because of the way things are changing in the world now, I don't go out without something, some kind of weapon. And it wasn't just because of the encounters that I've had.
Well, that's understandable. I mean, there are two-legged predators out there besides dogmen that aren't always safe to be around, so I definitely get it. I really do. And since you weren't traumatized by your experiences, I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but since you weren't traumatized by them, does that mean that you almost feel lucky to have had them?
Well, I don't know if I feel lucky or not. I mean, uh, it was an experience. That's about all I can say. It was different.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a good way to sum it up. Different. I know you live out, but do you have a lot of woods around you, or is it mostly farming land where you don't have a lot of cover for these things? What kind of area do you live in?
Well, there is a lot of woods. It is getting populated around, but there's a lot of woods, streams, uh, ponds, and so forth around. I mean, we got Sweetwater Creek, Pumpkin Vine, and they're just everywhere around. So they got plenty of water and places to hide.
Yeah, sounds like a good place for a dog man to make a living. With that in mind, have you warned any of your neighbors about these things?
I've told some people. Had one neighbor that had seen it, didn't know what he'd seen, and he described the very first one that I ever seen, and it was in his yard, which was at the back end of my property at the time. So, you know, I've seen it down the road, and I've seen it. It's been seen right there within 600 feet of my house.
Yeah, they're definitely around, unfortunately. When you're going to bed at night, again, you're not traumatized by the encounters you've had, but when you go to bed at night, do thoughts about these guys, do they creep into your head a lot? Or is it something that you don't think about all that much?
I just don't think about it that much.
Wow, you're in a good place. You really are. All right, then, Ferris, please tell us about your encounters now. Give us every last detail that comes to mind.
Well, the first one that I seen, I had left the house taking uh, a future son-in-law at the time back to his grandmother's house where he lived, and I crossed the tracks, turned on to the road heading towards Powder Springs, and after I crossed the bridge, the next spot it's lit up real well because the phone company's sitting to the left, and there's a crossing with a business that's across the tracks to the right. And when I got uh, up there in the light, here he come out of nowhere from the tracks, and that He was a very large. I mean, I'm in a Toyota Tacoma truck, 4-inch lift kit, mud tires on it. So that put it on up there a good ways. And I was looking at it uh, right in the eyes over the hood. And I'm thinking, what am I seeing? It wasn't registering. It looked almost as big as a pony, as long as the lane that I was in. It was white, sort of a mud color mixed in with the white, stringy hair. I got a real good look at it because it's well lit up right there, even at 10 o'clock at night. And I've never seen nothing. I'm used to animals in the woods. I've seen them move. I know how quick a lot of them can be, but I've never seen nothing that fast. And of course, the second one, it was jet black. I couldn't even see the eyes, but it was just as big as the other one that I'd seen. And I was coming across the yard from my mother and dad's house and got right about the property line, and it shot out from under an oak tree, which was drooped down. I couldn't see under the tree at all. It was dark. It shot out from under there, and about 3 bounds, it was over in the next to the house back in the shadows. And I didn't even have time to raise shotgun up. I didn't hear a thing. As big and heavy as it was, it should have been making some noise, and it was. If I hadn't have seen it when it come out from under that tree, I wouldn't even know anything about it.
Are you glad that you know that you had at least one dog man around your property, or are you one of those people that would be a lot happier just not to know? Even if it's the truth, there are a lot of people out there who tell me that, okay, even though they were around my property, I'd rather not know they were there.
Well, by knowing they're there, I know to be very watchful of them. I, I'll look, make sure. I won't. I don't make a habit of going out after dark. Of course, my age, I couldn't move that fast nohow. So I just have to depend on something to either slow it down or, if it tried to attack or anything. But so far, I've been fortunate on that. Haven't had to worry about an attack. I reckon the closest would have been the last one that I seen. If it was going to attack, I figured it would have done it then.
He has had plenty of opportunities, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any livestock around your property?
No, I don't. There is over in the next county, which is just down to the end of the road because my property's county line. Uh, there is a pasture with cows in it. That's that's the closest around here.
Yeah, if you had a lot of animals out there to tend to and worry about, that would definitely complicate things, but I'm glad you don't have to worry about that. Do you have a dog? that you keep inside that you let out at nighttime, or
Well, we had one. We just got a little cat now, so I don't have nothing. Unless the cat can know something's out. That's
is it?
only.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
That's all right. That's the only thing I know. I don't know if the cat would tell me anything like a dog would.
Well, sometimes they do. When a dog meat comes around, they get that Halloween scaredy cat look sometimes. So, yeah, it just depends on the cat and depends on what the dog man does. Has anything ever happened where you're sitting in the house and something just felt off? It just didn't feel right.
I've had something like that happen a few times, but I couldn't put my finger on it as to what it would be, other than possible dog man. But I can't say for certain that's what it was.
Yeah, that's the best response right there. If you don't know, it's best to say that you don't know. It's admirable that you do that because a lot of people, if they hear a branch fall outside after they've had a Sasquatch encounter or a dogman encounter, then automatically it had to be one. So it's good that you're so level headed. That definitely is a big reason why you're able to handle this so well. And thank goodness for that. Talking about nighttime, do you go out at night still, or are you pretty much a shut away after the sun goes down?
After the sun goes down, unless I just have to, I stay inside.
And that's strictly because of the dog man that you saw on the back of your property.
Well, no, I try to get everything I'm gonna get done before it gets dark, and that way I won't have to worry about going out. But um, it's not just because of the dog man.
Yeah, if you don't have to be out and about after dark, there's no reason to be. So I get it, I do. How close was that dog man to you, the black one at the back of your property, when you saw it at its closest point?
At the closest point, probably 40, 50 feet.
Oh, wow. Did he ever give you the impression he knew you were there?
Oh yeah, because when he shot out from under that tree, he had been watching me the whole time. He was to my left or to my right, and when he shot out from under there, he went to the left, heading out towards the house, and then right between the ditch that I was coming upon and the house, he hit that shadow and he just blended right in. I never seen him again.
When you're heading for that ditch, just doing your thing, moving along, were you moving straight towards where he was under that tree or at an angle away from it?
I was heading towards the house, uh, which would have been straight in front of me, and the tree would have been at the front right corner of the house, next to the ditch that I was coming upon. So he was coming right straight in front of me.
Yeah, imagine the thoughts going through his head. He might have been thinking, okay, he's coming towards me. I'm about to have a Farris Reese encounter. Watch out. You never know. It's hard to say. You were looking at that first dog man right over your hood, the hood of your truck, you said. How close
Yes,
was it at its closest point?
it was probably between 50 and 60 feet, maybe, when he come right out in front of me and looked right over at me as he went by, like, "Hey, I'm here, and now I'm gone."
Huh. Did that one give you the impression that he wasn't happy about you being there and rolling up on it?
Well, I don't know about his impression. I'm sitting there trying to figure out what in the world am I looking at.
Yeah. I can only imagine the thoughts going through your head. Some dogmen in situations like that, when you just get to sit there and watch them move, some of them, they look really smooth, and every movement is planned, and it's just like a symphony. Others, they act all twitchy and their movements are jerky. It's like they haven't been walking long. It's almost like they're learning how to walk because they're so unsettled in their movements. How do you describe how this one was moving?
He was moving like he was going about 90 mile an hour is about the best I can say it. He was hauling it when he crossed that road.
And he
He
looked well coordinated?
he looked uh he wasn't really coming across like I would say a dog would, real smooth and everything. It looked like he had to put forth a lot of effort with his movements because those joints just didn't look right. They just looked like they didn't want to do what he really wanted to do.
Yeah, that's really hard to figure out. Some dogmen, they just move with so much grace, like I said. Others looks like they're just struggling to not trip over themselves. I wonder how that works. If it's their proportions, some dogmen have proportions that just don't lend themselves to moving smoothly. I don't know what it is, but that's just one of the strange, quirky things about these guys. Now, you went from having no dogman encounters to having one at the back of your property after you had that first one in a pretty short amount of time. Do you think those two encounters were related somehow, or they just happened that way?
Well, I've often thought about that. I'm not quite sure about whether it was like they were planned or what, but they just I just know it happened, and I wasn't expecting really neither one of them.
Yeah, you never expect to have a dogman encounter until you have it. That's pretty normal right there. Now, the black one, the second encounter you had, it came shooting out from underneath that tree by the corner of your house, but it's moving away at 100 miles an hour, you said. But did it do anything as it was running away that gave you the impression that it wasn't happy, snarl at you, or look at you with a nasty look? Or did it just keep its head focused in the direction it was headed?
He was just focused straight ahead, and the difference between him and the other one is now he didn't look like he had near the problems like that first one did. He moved more graceful like.
See, that right there is a perfect example. It's so hard to understand. The black one was graceful. The first one seemed clumsy or just kind of out of sorts.
Hmm.
Did their body proportions look that different? That might be an explanation, or did they have pretty much the same kind of proportions? Maybe they were just different sizes.
Well, the black one looked like he was could have been a little heavier set. He definitely had longer fur on him. The other one looked like he had more of a short hair than long. The longest hair that the first one had was around his head and the tail. On the black one, he was. I couldn't really tell the actual size of him because he looked like he had so much hair.
That's another thing that's so hard for me to wrap my mind around. These guys have so many different looks. It's hard to know what to expect when it comes to what a dog man's going to look like if you have an encounter. Now, speaking of that, how would you describe their tails? Did their tails look disproportionately long compared to their body sizes, or did they look stubby or pretty normal length?
Well, as far as that first one, he looked like he had a fairly long tail. Um, that second one, he went by so fast. I didn't really, I didn't really see the tail. He was going so fast.
Yeah, sounds like he was trying to break some land speed records.
Hmm.
Yeah, sounds like he was. You've heard about them being seen by quite a few people in North Georgia, from what I understand. How did you find out about those encounters?
Well, I've seen a lot of that on YouTube, on a lot of those shows, and then when I was looking on your site, I found the map that was showing the different counties and telling about how many encounters had been reported, in different parts of the state. And it don't surprise me about North Georgia.
Yeah, got
It-
a lot of wild country there.
yeah. And, I've heard about around uh, over here in Cherokee County, Floyd County, Alden County, and that's all right here where I'm at Cobb County and Douglas. They've at least had anywhere from one, Alden County 9. Two of them was right here within a mile and a half from the house over in Hiram in Paulding County.
Yeah, when you look at how that land is in northern Georgia, it's hard to think of a better place for them to live. I mean, they've got all the resources they could want, plenty of room to roam without being seen if they don't want to be seen. I mean, you could have an army of dogmen in there, and if they didn't want to be known about, no one would ever be the wiser.
That's true.
Yeah, doesn't get any better than that for them. Well, before I go on, if you have any questions you want me to ask Farris, please type them in all caps if you're in the live chat. That way I won't miss them, at least hopefully.
Okay.
Your wife knows about your encounters, Farris, but what does she think about all this? I mean, she went from one moment not hearing anything about dogmen to the next moment, her husband's telling her about this dogman encounter that he had on the way home in his truck one night. I'm sure you told her right after he had that first one. Does she seem to believe you? And what does she seem to think about all this?
Well, I think she believes me. She just to start with. So we hadn't been married, but going on 5 years now. So a lot of this happened before me and her got married. But I told her about it, and she kind of looked at me, kind of like, I don't know about that. But now she's heard enough and seen enough that, from some of these shows and what I've told her, I'm pretty sure she believes every word of it.
Well, that's really good. Yeah, anytime you have support like that, it's not like you need the support because you're not traumatized. But when your significant other is right there with you and they're not making fun of you and they believe you, I mean, that's about as good as it gets. It really is.
Yes, it is.
From some of the things that you said, it sounds like you watch your fair share of cryptid shows. With that in mind, now you've had these two dogman encounters. Are you looking for dogman shows to watch on TV, or do you focus more on Bigfoot? And if you come across what looks to be a good dogman show, you'll happen to tune that on. But otherwise, is it no big deal? And is it nothing that you necessarily look for?
I, turn it on. I've watched several of them today, Dogman and Bigfoot.
Yeah, when you have a dogman encounter or a Sasquatch encounter, it really sets a hook in you in most cases, and you can't get enough info about them. So that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I want to learn all I can.
Yeah, that's understandable. You go one moment from not knowing these things existed, all of a sudden having an encounter with one. It's only natural that you want some answers and some explanations. So that definitely fits. Well, let's get to some of the questions from the people in the live chat now. The first one up is from Donella Eileen Grenick. And Donella wants to know, or Donna Huff, I'm sorry, do you think these two dogmen were mates? I don't remember if you already said that or not. Thank you.
Um, I'm not sure that they were. Uh, I never seen them hang together. I did have somebody that was saying that they had seen two of the black ones. Uh, they may have been mates. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so hard to say about that. All we can do is guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you can do. The next question up is from Miguel Floriano. And Miguel wants to know, did your heart start racing when you saw it? I think he's asking about the second one. Or was it a casual, oh, wow?
No, the second one, yeah, my heart was kind of racing. It just kind of caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting that to come out from under that tree. I mean, and I was looking. I had full view of the front yard, and all of a sudden, there it came.
I apologize if you already answered this question, but what time did you say it was when you had that second encounter with the black one?
It was probably around 10:30, about same as the first one.
So it's good and dark. Yeah, that makes it even more frightening. But then again, like I said, you're not traumatized. Thank goodness for that.
No,
Yeah.
it didn't seem to affect me like that. Of course, that could have been too, because to start with, I really didn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah,
And
sometimes like, oh, I'm
after
sorry.
after that, it done been so long in between. It happened.
Wow, I'm so glad you're able to take this in stride the way you have. Some people could have those exact encounters and they'd be ready to jump off of a bridge. So, yeah, thank goodness you're taking this so well. The next question for you is from D Truth, and D wants to know what height and weight would you estimate in the eye color?
Well, the eye color, um, on the white one, it looked sort of a brownish orange. I didn't see no glowing from it like I've heard of some. Uh, the black one, I couldn't even see the eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you only can see what you saw.
Yeah.
Can't be faulted for that. This next question up is from Christina Easterday. And Christina wants to know, thank you for sharing. Did you smell anything? And did it go quiet right before you saw them?
Well, I wasn't really paying much attention at the time to how quiet it was. Um, but I didn't smell nothing. That much I do know.
Yeah, that's one of those things where sometimes eyewitnesses smell something, other times they don't. This next question for you is from Cookies and Cream. Oh man, that sounds good. They want to know what year did these two encounters happen?
All right. The first one was between 2008, 2009. And the last encounter that I had with the black one was like 2015.
So a little while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been some time.
But then that neighbor that I was talking about 2 years ago, he seen it behind the house about 600 feet from my house, right in his yard.
Yeah, well, that means for at least a certain period of time it was hanging around, and I wonder why that was. I wonder if it was drawn to you or something else. Then again, if it came shooting out from underneath that tree on the corner of your house when you were walking towards it, then maybe not. It's just so hard to think for these things. It really is.
Yeah.
This,
Well, that was the first one that I seen is the one that he described that he seen 2 years ago.
oh, the first one. Okay, I missed
Right.
that.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen the black one since that night, but the white one's been seen in a couple of different places other than where I'd seen it.
Wow, that first one, when you said you're heading towards Powder Springs and saw it, how far were you from home at the time?
I was maybe a mile.
Oh, close then. Okay, yeah, that explains it. This
Yeah,
next,
and right there to the left, just before you get to the to where the phone company's at, there's a pond sitting right there, and there's a stream that I had to cross to go by the pond to to where he went. And I don't know once they crossed to where that phone company was, where they took to the left towards the pond or to the right to the parking lot. I lost sight of him after that.
well, I think you did a good job noticing what you did about these two guys when you had these encounters. You deserve a lot of credit. Most people wouldn't have noticed what you did. So that's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
Kiko, that's right. Kiko, I'm going to butcher his last name. Kiko Villaveses wants to know, can you share some of the stories of others in your area that said they saw the dog man? Thanks for sharing.
Well, my brother, uh, he he had seen it, the white one. Um, I believe it was during the daytime. Uh, and it was further down Hiram Lithia Springs Road, which I don't know, it might have been a couple of miles at most from the house when he seen it. And he come back describing what he had seen. And he didn't really know at the time until I told him later on what we were looking at. I was talking to him just today. I said, I don't know how close it was to you, but I got to see a bird's eye view of it. Um, as far as the black one, uh, that same son-in-law said that he had seen one, and I had seen another one. So we figured there was at least two of them, and they were probably 300 or so feet in different directions from one another when they were seen. So that's really all I can say about that one.
Yeah, it really does make you wonder how many of those things you have in the area at any given
Yeah,
time.
that's what I'm wondering.
It really does. This next question is from Cookies and Cream. They want to know, what year was this encounter? But then again, you've had two, so you've already answered that. But
2008, 2009 was the first one. 2015 on the black one.
hopefully, those are your only two encounters you're ever going to have. Hopefully, you're never going to have another one. It looks like Renee Morricone wants to know, were their faces similar?
Well, I couldn't tell nothing about the black one because there's so much hair. The face on the first one, that some gun was just. I mean, I've seen pictures of wolves, seen them on TV shows and stuff, and they're pretty. This son of a gun was ugly as it could be. Had what I call alligator teeth because they overlapped like an alligator's with his mouth shut.
I'll bet that's a sight you still haven't gotten out of your head.
Oh no. And that's one of the pictures I had seen of one when I was looking, one day I seen that same picture of the head of the one I was looking at, and that's when I knew that's what I had seen.
I'm so glad you found out what they were. It's one thing to have an encounter with them and know what they are, but if you never find out what they were that you saw, that just makes it that much more difficult. But then again, I think, like I said, that's one of the reasons why you're able to deal with these encounters so well, is knowing what they are, and, or I guess I should say were, and watching all these shows about them that you have. So that kind of takes off some of the mystery, and that whole mysterious element. That's one of the biggest reasons why eyewitnesses tend to be so traumatized by their encounters. This next question is from Miguel Floriano, and Miguel wants to know, was it a full moon when you had your encounters?
I don't recall no full moon when I seen either one of them. I know the black one was um, during the summer months when I seen it, probably around this time of the year, going into August maybe, and that the first one, it was way on up in the fall when I seen it.
I see. A lot of people who live out in the country, Farris, they don't have any drapes on their windows. Now, from talking with you, I got the impression that you probably do keep drapes on your windows and keep them shut at nighttime, but that's just a supposition. Do you keep drapes on your windows and keep them closed at night?
I got blinds up.
Did you have blinds before you had those encounters?
Um, no, I didn't.
After that first encounter, which was a mile away from home, that's one thing. But when you have one right at the back of your property there, back behind, That's another thing. When that problem is so close to home, it's at home. Did you put the blinds up after that first encounter? But
I
or
think
did you wait until the second one?
it was somewhere in between. It was probably closer to the second one.
Yeah, when you know there's one that could be outside at any time, that changes things. I get it.
Yeah, yeah, it do.
Yes, sir. Definitely. It looks like Glenn Kamada wants to know, did they have human legs or dog legs?
Uh, it looked more like a dog leg to me, but just kind of out of shape. The joints just didn't match like they would on a dog.
If they didn't match, then what parts of his leg structure were shorter than normal on a dog versus longer than normal?
Well, that's the thing. The joints look looked out of proportion for the way the leg was. It just looked like it was way longer than it should have been on both ends of the joint. But it just the joint just didn't look like it was supposed to move the way it moved.
Yeah, well, they just have some strange proportions in general. So, why should I expect their legs to be any different? This next question for you is from D Truth, and D wants to know, do you think they're natural creatures?
No, I don't think so. Wasn't nothing near anything natural I ever seen.
Yeah, I can't see how they could be when you consider all these things that such credible eyewitnesses report seeing them do, such as yourself. So, yeah, that makes two of us. Would you be open, and there's no pressure to do this, but considering that you've had that one encounter right behind your house, and then your neighbor told you about seeing that one that was right back there as well, do you have any interest, if I could arrange it, at having an investigator come to your property and come to your area, that is, to look around?
I don't have a problem with it. I
Okay.
I would like to find out more about possibly. I've got my ideas, but where they are actually calling home, not just the surrounding area, but an actual place that they hold up.
Do you have any caves in your area?
Mm, I'm not sure if there's any caves close by where I'm at. I know back up where I hunted at in Paulding County, there could possibly be a cave or two.
Because they do seem to like caves. But then again, I guess it depends on what the season is and other things that are going on.
Hmm.
Yeah, it just depends, really. That's how it normally goes. It just depends. I've got a question for you from, I think, the youngest member in the live chat, Caleb Gates. That question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how pretty was the dog man?
Well, the black one, uh, from what I could tell, I would say probably an 8. The white one, he struck out. I'd say 0 on him.
Yeah, sounds like he must have been pretty ugly.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no, I believe it. It looks like Lumen 101 wants to know, what would you have done if you caught it? Although you weren't trying to catch either one of them, so I don't really understand that question.
I don't know what I'd have done. I'd more apt to just want to get rid of it.
I understand. It'd be like the dog chasing the car.
Hmm.
It really would. This next one up is from Miguel Floriano, and Miguel wants to know, would you like to see one again?
I've thought about it. If I knew I could see one and have the same, whether it be luck or whatever you want to call it, that I've had with the last two, it wouldn't bother me.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, if you would have said you never want to see one of these things again, then that kind of hints at a different direction than what we're going. The fact that you're open to have another encounter, that's good. That's really good. That just hammers home the fact that you're dealing with all this so well. This next question is from Caleb Gates. He has another question for you and wants to know, do you think they're the result of human and dogs breeding?
That is a possibility from what some of what I've seen, or it could be some of the stuff that we're not being told by our government.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a long list. It's a lot
Yeah.
of things they don't tell us. You can count on that. This next question is from Sergio Meza, and Sergio wants to know, what would you say keeps you so detached from the experiences? Some people's lives are altered in some way from seeing these monsters.
Uh, Biggest thing is if something does happen to me, I know where I'm going.
You're a good man. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. D Truth wants to know, do you have any photos of any tracks?
No, I don't have no photos. Uh, Most of the ground here is grass, and it's until we have a good rainy season uh, during the spring, and during the winter, the ground will get all mushy. It's hard. You won't hardly find no tracks.
Yeah, without the ground being the right way, you aren't going to find any tracks. It's funny, Miguel just had a question that I was about to ask myself. He wants to know, well, Miguel Floriano, to be thorough, he wants to know, after your encounter, did you see any black SUVs or anything strange around your home?
I didn't recall any.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no rhyme nor reason. Sometimes when it seems like there's a presence, a dogman presence in an area, especially where people live, you'll find SUVs popping up you didn't see before and other vehicles popping up that never were there before. But some other times that doesn't happen, even in areas where a lot of encounters happen. So there really isn't any rhyme nor reason to that. But oh, I'm sorry, please continue.
Now I know. I didn't really just go out and advertise that I had seen anything to start with. Of course, I didn't know like I said, what I was looking at for a long while. I'd kind of gotten an assumption of about what it might could be, from hearing some talk about it. But until I seen that picture that I seen with that one, that's the first time I really knew what I was looking at, and I wouldn't have. I kind of look at it like, well, since I didn't advertise it and I hadn't heard nothing, of course, uh, I don't know if anybody else had seen it or not at that time when I had that would say anything. If there had been a vehicle like that around, I would probably wouldn't have gave it a second thought.
Well, some people would, some people wouldn't. But yeah, it sounds like if you didn't notice anything, there probably wasn't anything there. There probably weren't any vehicles that showed up, which that's always a good thing. I've got one more question for you before we throw in the towel, and this one's from Danella Eileen Grinnick. And that is, did you ever hear any sounds related to them?
No, I never really heard no sounds. They were pretty well quiet. The only thing that I did hear was after that black one shot towards the backyard and went down, and uh, I did hear somebody shooting back over a little later. I figured that's what they was shooting at. I did hear dogs going, sounding off back over in that area, but that's all I heard.
Makes you wonder what that was all about. Might have been related to one of these guys, but yeah, it's really hard to say. All we can do is guess about that. But before we do get out of here, did I ask you for your closing comments? I've got so much going on here. I apologize.
Uh, no, you didn't ask, but that's main thing I want to do is just learn all I can about them, and if I feel like I need to avoid them, or if I can find out that they're not going to harm me, I may see what I can do about finding one. I don't know.
Huh. Well, I don't know if there's any future in trying to find one of these guys unless you really know what you're doing, and very few people fit into that category. Trust me on that.
Yeah.
But like I told you before, Farris, I'm so glad that you're dealing with these experiences so well. Thank goodness for that, because yeah, it can get a lot worse. It definitely can, and I deal with that all the time. So we'll just play the glad game. But having said that, thanks so much for coming on and sharing the details of those experiences with us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. You are welcome. Well, having said that, thanks again so much for your time, and have a great night.
All right.
Thanks. We'll see ya. Well, that's it for another episode of the show. Thanks as always so much for listening. And if you've had a Dogman encounter or Dogman encounters, plural, of your own, and would like to speak with me about it to get help dealing with them, or maybe you'd like to just come on the show and share your experience or experiences with the listeners, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. If you do that, then I'll be more than happy to contact you and schedule a phone consultation with you so we can have a good talk about your experience or experiences. But having said that, thanks again as so much as always for listening. I really appreciate it, and have a great night.